Up until now, we've really only spoken about the economy in the context of Australia. But this doesn't really provide an entire picture, because we're not exactly alone on this island of ours. The reality is that our economy is substantially influenced by other economies, meaning that in some ways we need other countries to be in the picture so that we can prosper. If you can remember, economic growth is measured by GDP. And to give you a fun fact, Australia's exports in 2014 formed over 20% of the country's GDP. So basically, 1/5 of what we produced in that year went to an overseas market. What I'm describing to you is called globalisation, where a group of world economies sort of converge to form one ultimate global economy. So think of Australia as an economy that is part of an even larger one. Now, the reason globalization has come about is due to a number of factors, but the three main ones are cross-trade flows, cross-financial flows, and the growth of multinational corporations. And these three things have been accelerated by policies established by world governments and changes in technology. Starting with cross-trade flows. Australia, for example, is a large exporter of university education. Brazil is the world's largest exporter of coffee, and India is the world's largest exporter of bananas. So all of these countries greatly benefit when there is demand for their goods and services, but also their economies are susceptible to the changing patterns of their trading partners. Governments help to make global trade possible by getting together to reduce barriers such as tariffs and quotas, which are basically policies that make imported goods and services more expensive or inaccessible for domestic consumers. New technologies around transportation and communication have made it easier for exports to reach buyers in even the most remote locations and get there faster than what was possible in the past. Moving now to cross-financial flows. As the term suggests, this just refers to money circulating around the world, moving from country to country. World governments have made this possible by opening their doors to foreign investment by dropping policies that prevent foreign ownership. For example, a US investor can buy 20% of an Australian retail company if it wants to, without significant barriers in the form of regulation. Cross-border finance has been made much easier through developments like international online banking systems and online investment trading platforms that permit very fast transactions. And finally, multinational corporations have come about that not only span countries but continents. Some which you might be familiar with include McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and BP. And many of these can operate in as many as 100 countries around the world. Governments have helped in allowing these companies to grow to such sizes by reducing barriers in the form of high taxation. And the technology revolution has allowed for these large companies to grow because global communication is much easier through means like email, video calls, and instant messaging. So now that you understand what globalization is and understand how it's come about, now you might be asking, well, what does this all mean for me and the people around me? Well, it's because of globalization that the house you might live in and are renting may belong to an Indian investor. It's because of globalization that a pair of shoes you buy online from the US can arrive at your doorstep within days. What it also means is that when the global economy is doing well, Australia's economy is often able to benefit from this. When times are tough though, Australia will also likely be negatively impacted. And that's globalization, a phenomenon that has really come about in the last few decades and impacts us in more ways than one.